Alrighty, welcome back, my fellow cryptids, to the Chupacabra's lair. I am, of course, Larry the Chupacabra, and today we're taking a first look at the game now available on Steam Early Access of Orbitalis. And this is a kind of a fun little minimalist take on physics in a nice sandboxy space engine where you launch satellites and try to keep them in orbit and alive as long as possible. So, we begin our little space-related adventure with a little red dot from which we will launch our satellite using this, draggable controller. And we're in a lovely little solar system with a single planet and its couple little moons and a sun. And we have to keep our satellite inside of this little sphere of gyro graphics for as long as possible, utilizing the gravity of the sun and trying to avoid smashing into that small little white planet for as long as possible. And also trying not to go too far out of bounds, or else we will exit the solar system and go on some sort of maddening, psychotic cosmic adventure. So we lasted for 23 seconds, and that gets us to 150th in the leaderboard, which is actually a little bit better than I did previously. And when you are playing in one of these levels, there is a minimum time required to survive in order to progress to the next level, which is denoted by that lovely little circle that revolves around the outside of our current solar system. And once you reach that, you can progress to the next level. All the other time you're able to survive past that is just gravy and bragging rights, which is the whole point of the leaderboards. And as you go along, it gets a little bit more complicated. There's more planets to constantly deal with. They have their own individual gravities, which can make it somewhat hard to stay alive or just stay in the solar system if you end up slingshotting around these little white ones. But it looks like I managed to survive a requisite amount of time and even a little bit of bonus. 17 seconds, which has actually beaten my previous best. And the previous record holders are around 2 minutes, almost 3. And the whole goal of this game was to provide a very nice, relaxing, very simple game that can provide quite a bit of replayability over time. I mean, it is a very simple concept. You just launch your satellite, you pick its trajectory with this little dragger to denote how powerful a launch you would like. And can I skirt around the outside of the sun? No. And then you just gotta hope, once you release your satellite, that it doesn't get murdered by cosmic forces. And are we gonna make it? Looks like we are. The trick sometimes isn't to just revolve around the planet, but sometimes you gotta pick the Poon method of narrowly skirting the boundary before smashing back into the moon. So next up, we're going to jump into the cosmic map, and we're going to jump over to Alpha Centauri to take a look at some of the different mechanics that you can run into. You not only have to deal with planets and a sun, but sometimes it's a solar system that doesn't quite play by the normal astrological rules. And it's got 2 suns and no planets, and we're not sure how these two haven't even smacked into each other yet. So we're going to swoosh and do a figure 8 around these planets and try to last as long as we can. So sometimes the trick isn't to launch really powerfully, but to just give your satellite the gentlest of nudgings. Less can oftentimes be more, but not too little. You gotta have just the right amount of rocket schmackalacka fuel in order to live. We'll try a roundabout method, which is going to get us murdered. Maybe if we just shoot it up and around. Just a little bit of extra force. And we can slingshot up and around and not even do a figure eight. So sometimes, you know, you can experiment. There's different strategies you can take. Different mechanics you've got to worry about. And now we've got 2 suns, and they've each got a couple of extra little exoplanets that might try to kill us. We'll just got to be real careful and take nice, long swooshes through this planetary system so that we don't smack into these tiny little planets that are trying to just get noticed in here. They're saucy planets. I want to get all up in your face. Actually, there's 3 of them. I didn't see that little one there. And so far, I've really enjoyed this game. I think I've played through around half to 2/3 of it before deciding to make this video finally. This first look. This game is, of course, available on early access, relatively inexpensive if you're looking for a game like this that's kind of relaxing. Has some extra replayability when you try to beat your previous best. I think in this cloud, in this solar system, I'm going to want to take a roundabout approach. Oh, are you going to stay in or are you going to exit? Nope, you're going to exit. So to begin this, when I first bought this game, when it first became available, I had a few high scores on the leaderboards. I think I had 7 on a couple of them and 4 on a couple others. That has changed relatively quickly, and if you have the propensity to refine your orbits, or maybe even use a little bit of math to calculate what you're doing as you play Orbitalis, you might be able to get there up in number 1. Some of these levels actually had people who lasted for almost an entire hour, just watching their satellite flow and orbit and swizzle around and then crash into the sun. The next game mechanic we'll look at is the sometimes, maybe, not always gravity wells, or suns and other gravity-producing planets that sometimes turn on and suck you in and sometimes get disabled, which adds not only a level of difficulty in maneuvering around 2 suns, but also a certain amount of difficulty in timing, because they're not always ready to roll. We're going to try very hard to do our long swoosh around the outside of the planet, but I don't know if we'll be able to do that. We'll have to be very patient with our timing. These suns are not going to make it too easy to get in and stay in a stable orbit, because they're not really sure what they want to do even for themselves. Alright, the next piece in this solar system is we've got an entire solar system full of planets, a couple of small suns that aren't really sure what they want to do. We've got a little planet here that's kind of got a gravity. We've got a stable sun this time, which is nice. And we've got 2 planets that are just blinking like a pair of Christmas lights. They aren't sure what they want to do. Let's see if we can't slingshot around this sun for a little while. Oh, nope, we're going to get the guy on the end. Maybe if we slingshot around the outside. That might work. Sometimes you just got to take the path of least resistance, almost no resistance. We can go for a nice, relaxing voyage through the stars and the cosmos before exiting the solar system altogether. I mean, it's the cosmic scenic route, really. So they're definitely starting to experiment with other methods of adding challenge. We've got, you know, gravity wells that aren't always consistent, and maybe further on we'll get to see things like black holes, or maybe comets, or maybe even wormholes that can squirt you out into an alternate dimension where the basic challenges are still there, but some of them are slip-swapped around. The last one we're going to want to look at is called Delta Cygni, right here, which has an unusual bit of mechanic that we will work up to from Orbitalis. So you'll see we have another sun here, but this isn't your standard sun. This sun is blue. Well, what does that mean? It's got the opposite of standard gravity. It repels objects instead of attracting them. It is the anti-gravity mechanic. We'll see if we can't... This is going to be a difficult level because we can't really keep ourselves in the solar system. That primary sun is going to try and kick us out of here, which makes our job very difficult. Maybe we can slingshot and get caught by that planet's gravity again, and maybe not. If we can get our arc large enough, that might be just what the doctor ordered, to keep us in the system, but not crashing into the planet. Now the reverse gravity takes effect, and we go smashing back to Earth. Not always the simplest mechanic, but it's kind of cool. So we saw double suns earlier, but Gamma Polaris doesn't want us to stick around for tea. We've got to try and push ourselves between the two suns in order to stay inside the planet. Not the planet, the solar system. So you could try to violently slingshot yourself into the two suns and hope that keeps you in the system long enough. But this is another situation where less thrust, initial launching thrust, is more. So we'll just keep it to almost nothing. We'll just let them squeeze us out of the system like the last dregs out of a tube of toothpaste. So we can average about 5 seconds. I think 4 to 5 seconds is about the time you need to progress to the next level. Some people, the max you've been able to get is 13 seconds. So this can be quite a difficult game. There is a varying level of difficulty, and now we have the trifecta, Delta Cygni, our last level on our Tour de Solaris. So we're just going to do the same tactic we had in that last level, and we're going to just let ourselves float through the anti-gravity until they push us out of the system altogether. Well guys, thanks for joining me today on the Chupacabra's Lair for a first look at the early concept for Orbitalis. It's a pretty well-refined and fairly almost finished game that's in early access right now. There's quite a few game mechanics I haven't touched on in here that you'll run into, including solar systems that don't have any primary source of gravity. You just gotta kind of control your own gravity in the middle of the vacuum of space, along with the strange, what I'll call hollow shield mechanic, that you have to go for quality orbiting time as opposed to quantity. I have, of course, been Larry the Chupacabra. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and especially hit that like button if you got a kick out of this. Helps me out a lot. Until then, toodaloo!